Hello, welcome back to my channel. Sorry for the lack of videos for the past few weeks. I had to move back from college and then I went on vacation to San Francisco for a little bit, but I'm back and better than ever. Today we're talking about an incredibly underrated movie, Legally Blonde 2, Red, White, and Blonde. As far as sequels to rom-coms go, this is like one of my favorite, if not my favorite. It's very close with Princess Diaries too, but I don't know. It's a steep competition. Now, I've only met one other person who has watched and appreciated Legally Blonde 2, Red, White, and Blonde the way that I have, and that was my manager at work. So shout out to him for appreciating this masterpiece. Now, if you haven't seen the movie, I highly suggest you watch it. It is free on YouTube, at least as of the time I am recording and posting this. If you haven't watched Legally Blonde, I have no idea how you are functioning as a human in society, but it's about Elle Woods. She goes to law school to impress a guy, but along the way finds her passion for law. So without further ado, let's get into Legally Blonde 2, Red, White, and Blonde. So the movie starts with us looking through a scrapbook that starts in Elle Woods' childhood, so it explores a little bit of background we didn't know before from the first movie, and then moves into the events of the first movie in kind of a like previously on section, except this is a scrapbook that the characters are interacting with, and it has screenshots from the first movie that they would have had no way of procuring as characters in this movie. After this opening sequence, we get our first shot of Emmett, Professor Hottie, and let me just say, if I was in Emmett's Harvard law class, I'd be crushing on teacher. Now, while we're setting up the exposition, we learn that Elle is a partner at a law firm, I think, or she works at this law firm, and she is in this incredible pinstripe suit, except the pinstripes are hot pink glitter. So anyways, Elle is working at this law firm. She has a gay assistant named Kevin, because why wouldn't she have a gay assistant? And Elle is actually going to be marrying Emmett pretty soon. My one true love them together. So she's trying to plan this wedding, and she realizes, I want to invite my dog Bruiser's mom to the wedding, of course, because that's a perfectly normal thing to do. So Elle hires a private detective to do a DNA test to find Bruiser's mom. And at this point, you might be thinking that this is the wildest thing you're going to see in this movie. Not even fucking close. So this private detective finds Bruiser's mom, and Elle goes to this address that the private detective gave her, and it says Versace on the outside. And she's like, great, I'm a Versace private member or whatever. So she walks in, and Octavia Spencer, like the famous actress Octavia Spencer, is the security guard in one scene. So Elle enters this building and she sees that Bruiser's mom is an animal testing dog and is getting tests done on her in this laboratory. And this is the inciting incident of the whole movie, but I would like to stop and analyze the fact that none of these scientists are wearing gloves, none of them are wearing goggles, and there is one very clear shot of one of them with dangling bracelets on their wrists. Have you never heard of lab safety? That is incredibly reckless. But I guess they don't have very high standards at Versace, which isn't actually Versace. It's an acronym that stands for, let me check my notes real quick, Veterinary Experimentation Research Science and Critter Exploitation. You're telling me that this makeup company that experiments on dogs included the words critter exploitation in their name? That's camp. I'm sorry, it's camp. So obviously Elle's like, oh my god, we have to fix this. We have to free Bruiser's mom. So she gives this whole PowerPoint to her law firm about why they need to rescue Bruiser's mom with different staged photo shoots of Bruiser in different scenarios growing up on the streets. And it is the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. Now, surprisingly, this law firm didn't take Elle's suggestion and actually fired her. I think she slayed. I think she deserved a promotion. And now, side note, while Elle is crying to Emmett about getting fired, she's like in a bathroom, and the bathroom decor is the weirdest shit I've ever seen. Why is it like that? Elle would never do this. I don't believe you. Then in the next scene, Elle is trying on her wedding dress, and oh my god, it's so beautiful. She doesn't end up wearing it at the wedding, and the one she wears at the wedding is like, it's cute, but it's not this first one. This first one's like perfect for her. But this is relevant to the plot because they can't do scalloped edges on it because of the fabric. And she remembers a quote she once heard, "Don't fight the fabric, change it." And Elle, in her brilliant mind, realizes, oh, that means that I need to go to Washington, D.C. and lobby Congress to prevent animal testing so I can get my dog's mom at our wedding. So Elle heads off to D.C. We see her in this American flag little scarf and these cool-ass sunglasses. And also, I didn't realize that the Jennifer Coolidge clip of her saying, "You look like the 4th of July makes me want a hot dog real bad."
Oh my God, you look like the 4th of July. It makes me want a hot dog real bad.
Is actually from this movie. Like, I did not remember that. Now, in doing research for this, I actually did look up cosmetic animal testing laws in the United States, and there is no, like, federal law banning animal testing, but it is illegal in California, Hawaii, Illinois, Louisiana, Maine, Maryland, Nevada, New Jersey, New York, and Virginia. What is not on that list is Massachusetts, which is where Elle's dog was, so good job, Legally Blonde 2. You're being accurate so far. Now, when Elle arrives to DC, she goes to some hotel or apartment. I can't tell which one it's supposed to be. But the doorman is the dad from Elf, like the elf dad from Elf, like Buddy's adopted father. But anyways, Elle's debating what outfit to wear for her first day on the Capitol Hill. And she picks out one and she's like, that's giving too much Nancy Reagan. She gets another one. She's like, that's giving too much Hillary Clinton. And then she settles on an incredible outfit. And she walks up the front of the steps to the Capitol building. And she is serving Jackie Kennedy. She's serving so much Jackie Kennedy, so much cunt. It's so good. Now, Elle rolls up to this Congresswoman's office where she is to work, and Regina King is there playing her antagonist, kind of. She's kind of like the combative co-worker that Elle has to deal with, though all of them are combative at the beginning, but Regina King is the most combative. And Regina King slays this role, of course. There's so much workplace beef at this Congresswoman's like office, and they're so real for that, because is it really a workplace if you don't all fucking hate each other and talk shit about each other behind each other's backs? So Elle attends her first Congress meeting, and she is immediately shot down by the chairwoman. So she is all down and depressed. And the doorman, the dad from Elf, his name in this is Sydney. And Sydney kind of takes an interest and is like, maybe I should be helping this poor girl. And then there's like a montage. I don't remember what was in the montage, but I do remember that they had a rock cover of "I'm Just a Bill" from Schoolhouse Rock. Give me one other film that has a rock cover of a Schoolhouse Rock song. You can't. So with Sydney's help, Elle discovers that she needs Representative Hauser and Representative Stan Marks to get on board with her bill in order for it to proceed. So Elle hunts down Representative Hauser at the salon by like making this whole map of all the salons in the DC area and narrowing them down by their coloring expertise and their philosophy to hair. Incredible scene. And Elle shows up wearing an absolute slay of an outfit. And Congresswoman Hauser is not having it. She is not happy that Elle is there. But guess what? Congresswoman Hauser just so happens to also be a Delta Nu. If you are unaware, Delta Nu is the made-up sorority that Elle is in the first movie. And in the first movie, there was also a twist where the person Elle needed to gain trust with happened to be a Delta Nu, and that bonded them together. And the odds of this happening twice? I actually did some research, and apparently the largest sorority in the United States is Chi Omega, and it has 400,000 plus active members. Now, that was a lot more than I actually expected the largest sorority to have, but that's still only like 0.24% of the female population of the United States. So the chance that the two people in a row that Elle needed to like gain confidence with both just so happened to go to the same sorority as her What kind of witchcraft is happening here? I'll tell you what kind of witchcraft. It's the witchcraft of a camp-ass movie. Does the plot make sense? No. Is any of this realistic? Absolutely not. But guess what? It's great. Now, Elle has Representative Hauser on her side, but you might be thinking, how is she going to get Stan Marks on her side? Alabama conservative senator NRA spokesperson Stan Marks, as she refers to him multiple times. Well, that twist happens when Bruiser, Elle's dog, gets a glimpse of Leslie, Stan Marks's dog, and thinks, hubba hubba. So we have this great little meet cute at the dog park for these dogs, and then they both end up going to the same dog spa or doggy care center or whatever. And both Elle and Stan Marks get a call from them, and they come in and they're like, your dogs were humping each other. And then it takes Elle like a while to realize that the girl is implying that they're both male dogs and that the dog is gay, and that's just unrealistic to me. Elle Woods would know. Elle would know from the first even glimmer of homosexuality in this dog. She would know. So Elle and Alabama Senator conservative NRA spokesperson Stan Marks, their dogs are in love and they are gay. And they're seen in the next... Oh God, what is this movie? They're seen in the next scene in matching leather jackets with studs on them, like as a nod to the leather scene in the gay community. What? And then in the conversation, fucking Stan Marks says, I told my wife we shouldn't have adopted a dog from DuPont Circle, which is the famously gay neighborhood of DC. What is this movie? God, the gay dog plotline is one of my favorite things about this movie because it's just so fucking out of nowhere. It's so wild. Anyways, one of Elle's coworkers, Rena, she's my favorite, love her. She gets won over by Elle. She's kind of on Elle's side now. The rest are still pretty hostile towards Elle. Now, Elle has gotten herself a committee hearing because she has befriended these two Congress people, and it's the first day of the committee hearing, and her opposition is speaking, and she gets absolutely torn to shreds. It's pretty bad. It's looking pretty bad for Elle. But the person she's working for, Congresswoman Rudd, is like, it'll be fine, you know? Like, they got their time to speak. We're going to get our time tomorrow. You're going to be fine. You got this tomorrow. Then Congresswoman Rudd gets a phone call from one of her big political donors. And this donor threatens to pull their funding for her campaign if she doesn't kill Bruiser's bill, which is the bill that Elle is trying to push through. So next is Elle's day to present to Congress, and she brings her dog and like puts it on the table as like a prop. And I was watching that and I was like, that can't be allowed, right? So I looked into it. So I looked up like Capitol Hill, can you bring pets? And apparently you can bring pets to a lot of the offices on Capitol Hill. Like in an astonishing amount of the workplaces on Capitol Hill you can bring your pets to if you work there. But there is a rule that prohibits pets on the chamber floors. So Elle, can't do that. Stop that, Elle. So Elle keeps guilt tripping them into like, oh my God, don't you love your dog so much? Is it really worth putting them through all this pain just to have some cosmetics when we could do it another way? And like, she's making points. She's slaying. And Representative Stan Marks goes off on this speech and he's like, my dog is gay. He says, I love that little flamer with my whole heart.
Stan Marks, I'm a conservative Republican NRA spokesman, and my dog is gay. And guess what? I couldn't be prouder of the little flamer.
And then he calls his dog a sissy. So after this gay dog speech, of course, everyone in the Congress stands up and claps. And this scene got me thinking. Stan Marks is voting on this measure. And he has a personal relationship with the person who's proposing it. His dog is the lover of her dog. Should he not recuse himself from this? So I looked up some rules about recusing yourself from like a Senate legislative situation. It turns out they have a higher bar for recusing themselves than judges do, because judges are like one-on-one, and also if they recuse themselves, another judge can fill in, whereas if a legislature does, there just is no vote for those people in that district. But they're supposed to recuse themselves if they have a direct personal or pecuniary interest. And I would personally argue that your dog's gay lover's mom being the sponsor of the bill is a personal conflict. So anyways, it looks like it's going Elle's way, and then Congresswoman Rudd, Elle's boss, comes in and tells the entire committee, I am sorry, I will have to pull my support from this bill. She basically fucks Elle over because of the phone call she got, but Elle does not know this yet. So Congresswoman Rudd tells Elle that she did this in order to get another bill through, which brings up a good point about compromise in politics and how often things that are like morally right don't get done in order to be used as bargaining points for other things to be done, and how it shouldn't be that way, obviously, but I love politics. So then Elle goes to the Lincoln Memorial alone at night and starts talking to Abraham Lincoln. This is her big like come to moment, and then all of her coworkers show up except for her boss. But how did her coworkers know she was going to be there? And how did they just roll up? So her and all of her coworkers, except for Grace, played by Regina King, and Congresswoman Rudd, all start working together to advance this bill on their own out of Elle's apartment. And Elle's apartment has impeccable interior design. It's so sleigh boots the house down. So now they're all trying to file a discharge petition, and I'm not going to explain to you what that is because I'm not a political scientist and it does not matter for the film. Basically, all you need to know is they need 200 and something signatures, and if they get that, yay, it's good. So they start brainstorming ways of getting these politicians to sign their petition, and Paulette ends up giving free haircuts to a bunch of Congress people. And when I saw that, I was like, this feels illegal. Is that not bribery? So again, I did some research. Legislators can accept certain gifts. And one of the types of gifts they can receive is something that is under $50 from a non-lobbyist. Now, Paulette is a non-lobbyist. I think Elle would be considered a lobbyist, but Paulette is not working for Elle and is technically not a lobbyist. So that part checks out. Now we have to analyze the under $50 claim. So what Paulette was offering here was a service, so it's a little bit more difficult to gauge the worth. But I looked up the price of haircuts, and the average women's haircut in D.C. is $75, which is well above the $50 limit. So I would personally think that these female congresspeople who are getting haircuts would be in trouble for accepting a donation or a gift that is over $50. Now for the men, I couldn't find a specific for DC average haircut price, but I found that the average men's haircut in the US is about $29, and it gave a range of $15 to $42, which is all below $50. So in my analysis, now this holds almost no merit because I am not a lawyer and I don't know anything about politics, but from my understanding, the men would be fine because this is an under $50 donation from a non-lobbyist, but the women who accepted haircuts might get in trouble because they got about a $75 gift from a non-lobbyist. Now you might think they stop at bribery and that's enough to get their discharge petition through, but it is not. And Elle's sorority friends put on a dog-themed cheer routine in the Capitol building. Remember when you thought a DNA test on a dog to find its mom was the weirdest thing in this movie? Yeah, me too. Now, Congresswoman Rudd is still very much trying to kill this bill because she wants her financier to continue giving money to her campaign. So she gives Elle this offer. She says, great news, Versace, the company that is holding your dog's mom, is willing to let go all of their test animals and offer you a job as the head of their legal team, which is a great deal for Elle. But she sees right through this. She's like, but I came here to do something bigger. I came here to help all animals, not just these ones and not just my dog's mom. I'm here for the greater good of all animals. So Elle does not take this offer. Slay. So Congresswoman Rudd tells Elle a lie and says that Grace's legislation that she was trying to put through was the reason that Rudd had to withdraw support from Elle's legislation. However, when Elle confronts Grace about this, Grace says, that's not true. I wouldn't touch that legislation with a 10-foot pole. So Elle goes back to question Congresswoman Rudd some more and catches her in a lie. Now, if you've ever seen Legally Blonde 1, you of course remember the iconic scene where she's like Doesn't everyone know the first cardinal rule of perm maintenance is that you cannot wet your hair within 24 hours at risk of deactivating the blah, 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 blah? I don't remember the words. So, of course, there's going to be a similar scene here where Elle realizes that Congresswoman Rudd told her that she got a facial earlier the day and didn't meet with the person who's trying to tear down her legislation. But she's getting makeup applied for an interview. And doesn't everyone know that if you get a facial, there is a 24-hour waiting period before any big events that would require makeup? Gotcha. So this prompts Congresswoman Rudd to confess to everything. And guess who is just outside the door hearing all of this? It is Grace. And guess what else? There's a machine recording everything Congresswoman Rudd is admitting to, because of course there is. So Elle tells Congresswoman Rudd, I'm not going to blackmail you with this information. I don't believe in blackmail. I'm just going to cast you aside and continue doing what I'm doing. So I'm going to call up every Delta Nu in the country. And as we established, they're a huge organization. They're presumably bigger than the biggest sorority in the US actually is, which is 400,000 plus members. So she calls all these people, and in the middle of this calling montage, they just had to throw in a little transphobic joke, you know? It couldn't be the 2000s without that. But anyways, all of these thousands and thousands of Delta News, as well as Emmett, flood Washington, and they have a protest, which they call the Million Dog March. And when I was watching this, I was like, that sounds familiar. I feel like that's a play on like a historical moment, so I wrote it down, and I was like, I will be researching. So I did research, and I found that in 1995, there was the Million Man March, which was hosted in Washington, D.C., which was a march of African-American men fighting for African-American rights. And does that not seem a little tasteless to make a parody of like a huge civil rights march? Oh, the 2000s. What would we do without them? So anyways, Grace at the last minute comes in clutch. She calls up Elle and she's like, you might be above blackmail, but I'm not. I am blackmailing Congresswoman Rudd. So Congresswoman Rudd yields some of her time to Elle to speak to the entire Congress, the entire Senate and House of Representatives, when they're supposed to be talking about like education in America, which I'm on Elle's side, all for Elle, all for Bruiser's Bill. But I think education in America is a very important topic that maybe we shouldn't be stealing time from. But it's okay, because Elle's congressional speech fit goes so crazy. The pink is just nice and understated enough that like she looks professional and put together, but it's still like very much her. And it's the cut of the suit she's wearing. Oh my God. So Elle gives a little speech. She throws away her written speech, of course, as all speeches go in big movies like this. And she starts giving a speech about her hair and how she once went to this really expensive salon. And she just sat there while they gave her the worst haircut she's ever had, and how she forgot to use her voice. And can you tell that this is a metaphor? And then Elle says, like, if we don't all start using our voice and standing up for each other, this country's in for a really bad haircut. And Elle, just you fucking wait. Just you wait until the 2016 election, Elle. That's a bad haircut. And then at the end of her speech, she says, we need to speak up for the home of the brave. We need to speak up for the land of the free gift with purchase. That line, incredible. Incredible critique of American capitalism and consumerism. And then, of course, how would this be a movie ending if there wasn't another everybody claps moment where every single member of Congress stands up and claps for her, which I don't think has ever happened in Congress for anyone. And at this point, it seems pretty clear where the movie's going to go. This huge rousing speech is going to get members of Congress to come up and sign the bill, and it's going to be passed through, and Elle's finally successful. But how fucking funny would it be if she went through this whole thing and she didn't get enough signatures and they were like, well, politics just too fucking corrupt, I guess, bye. Like, can you imagine? This entire speech happens, they all clap, and then no one fucking signs it because they all need to get, like, donations from fucking cosmetic companies that are doing this fucking animal rights testing. Now, that would be an incredible commentary on American politics. However, this does not happen, of course. It's a feel-good movie. So enough members sign, and the bill passes into law. I'm gonna be real with you. I have no idea if this is how Congress works. I don't think it is, because we never saw, like, the Congress people actually vote on it. We just saw a petition happen, which I'm pretty sure is not how bills get passed into law. However, I don't fucking know, okay? I'm just making a YouTube video. So all of the animals who are being tested on in these cosmetic labs get let free, which is great, except they show a shot of them just letting the animals loose into the street, which is a terrible idea. Those animals are going to die. They have no way to fend for themselves. So congrats, Elle. You just killed a bunch of animals. But on the happy note, Bruiser's mom is reconnected with Bruiser, so who cares about the other animals, right? And then Elle and Emmett get married, of course. Elle wears the slightly worse dress than the one she wore before, but it's still beautiful. Congress then implements Elle's snap cup, which is a cup where you put compliments about other people in, and then they draw one out, they read it, and everyone snaps for them, which I think should be in Congress. Personally, I would like to see that. Mitch McConnell only looks slightly like a turtle today. Snaps for Mitch. Marjorie Taylor Greene only said 5 racist things yesterday. Snaps for Marjorie. Then, at the very end, when Elle and Emmett are, like, driving off, and Emmett's like, where do you want to live now? Like, I work at Harvard, you're doing stuff in D.C., and Elle's like, I know the perfect place. And then she looks over, and it shows the White House. And I think Legally Blonde 3, Elle Takes on the White House, needs to be the Blonde House. Legally Blonde 3, Ellen the Blonde House, needs to be made immediately. We need to get Reese Witherspoon into that studio. And that's pretty much the end of the movie, which leaves me wondering, did Stan Marks ever leave the NRA? Because, like, Stan, like, fully accepts his gay dog now. He's a gay dog activist, and he seems to be, like, besties with Elle. But they never confront the fact that he's a spokesman for the NRA, which, call me crazy, is a bit of a red flag to me. But maybe that's, like, such a great metaphor for, like, performative allies who, like, they say they're okay with, like, gay people, but then they're still actively working in the government to protect agencies and structures that oppress groups of people. So if you think about it that way, Legally Blonde 2, Red, White, and Blonde really made some points with that. And of course, this movie is ridiculous, it's campy, but it does kind of make some good points about money and politics. Like, it shows that money corrupts politicians, and then it's often a game of strategy rather than actually trying to help people. And of course, in the movie, Elle comes in and saves all of politics as one singular person, when we know that's not how it'll work in real life. It's very, very difficult for one singular person to have any effect on politics. But, you know, for a sequel to a rom-com, she's got some pretty good takes on politics in America. So anyways, I really hope you liked my discussion of Legally Blonde 2, Red, White, and Blonde. If you haven't seen the film, please watch it. I know I just, like, described it for you, but literally nothing can match the experience of watching this movie. It is free on YouTube. Watch it, please. Alrighty, thank you so much for watching this video. If you have any comments, leave them down below. If you have any suggestions for future videos, you can leave those down below as well. I would appreciate it if you liked this video, subscribe to my channel, maybe turn on the notification bell, watch some of my other videos. I don't know, I'm just getting started on here. So thank you to anyone who has subscribed or has watched my videos. I appreciate it a lot, and I'll see you next time. Bye.